This morning, we are chatting all about empowering citizens to represent themselves. And this morning, as we have that conversation, I have the privilege of sitting and chatting online this morning with attorney at law, Martin George. Good morning and welcome. Mr. George will be joining us online for this discussion, and we look forward to talking to him this morning about how he, with his law university, would be equipping the population to represent themselves or fight on their own behalf when it comes to divorce proceedings. Good morning and welcome.
Yeah, hi, good morning, good morning. And just a slight correction, it's a law college, not a university.
Right, law college.
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah, so
you
the thing
you
is,
have embarked on this journey to equip citizens with the knowledge and the tools that they need to file their own divorce proceedings. Talk to us about that this
well,
morning.
that's just the first course we opening with, but there are several other courses that we have in the pipeline. I'll just give you an idea so that we people wouldn't get the feeling that it's just that alone. All right. So, for instance, we have all right. So that's the first one, which we call DIY, divorce it yourself. All right. So this is where we teach you how to prepare and file your own divorce proceedings without an attorney. We take you through all the steps in the family proceedings rules. We show you what the form 1 is, what the form 2 is. We teach you how to prepare a petition, all the fundamentals of what constitutes the breakdown of a marriage, and the grounds upon which you can file for divorce. We take you through everything, and we show you how it is straightforward, simple, and easy for you to be able to prepare your own divorce papers and file them. Once there are no major contentious issues, like for instance, property fight and fighting over ownership of a big business or that kind of thing. But once it's a fairly straightforward or simple divorce, most of the things you can actually learn how to do it yourself. So that's one of the things we're covering. Another thing we will be offering later on would be how to make a will, how to draft and prepare and execute your own will without an attorney. Again, this is something that a lot of people are interested in, because the point is lots of people want to make provisions for their will, and to leave for their family members. But of course, sometimes they may think the cost is prohibitive. So therefore, we are going to teach you how to be able to do that in the proper way, because there are certain fundamentals you must have when you are doing a will to have it executed properly. Then another course we have is landlords' rights and tenants' wrongs. So in other words, sometimes you have landlords who, they need to know what their rights are, because sometimes you have tenants who take advantage of situations, and landlords would want to know, well, okay, how could they treat with these situations, how to prepare a proper tenancy agreement, etc. Right? But then we also offer another course, which is going to be the flip side of that, which would be tenants' rights and landlords' wrongs. Because sometimes you have the reverse scenario where you have tenants who are in a situation where the landlord is being oppressive and taking advantage of them. So we go through all those fundamentals with you, and teach you how to protect yourself in the future in such a scenario.
Right.
Then
And
of course,
and
go ahead.
and for the persons who were wondering, these courses are being offered both online and in person. Tell us about that.
Yes, right. Okay, so the courses are offered at Costat, the city campus in Port of Spain. That's in person. But don't worry, you could be wherever. You could be Toco, you could be Scarborough, you could be Charlottesville, wherever. You can join in on these classes, because we also offer them online at the same time. So it's not just a question of saying, well, look, you have to come physically to Port of Spain. We are trying to make use of the technology, and we are allowing people to join in on the classes, virtually, by participating online. And at the end of each course, you get a certificate confirming that you have gone through the fundamentals and you have, been taught the basics in this area. All right. So we want to make it clear. It's not university level stuff. It's not degree level stuff. It's not that at all. It's just basic knowledge and certification in simple, ordinary things that people are concerned about, interested in. Sometimes it may just be to broaden your own knowledge base about a topic or to understand something, because law touches every aspect of life. In fact, that's one of our slogans. We say law is life and life is law. So like there are lots of persons who want to know about the Constitution. They want to, get some ideas to, what are the fundamental rights and freedoms contained in the Constitution. So we have a course covering that also. All right. So we try to bring law to the people to make it simple. And, from appearing in programs such as yours, we've always gotten the feedback where people ask me, they say, but why you don't, start a course or teach people? Because they like the way I explain things in a simple, understandable manner. I don't use the highfalutin language and, all the Latin and, the confusing terms that, you may hear from some other persons when they explain in legal principles. I try to make it simple and understandable and relatable to the ordinary citizen. So that's where it comes in terms of, the purpose of this law college. It's to bring law to the people. So all the everyday issues, the things that you'll be concerned about, like for instance, there's a course we're going to be doing on cryptocurrency, because lots of people, they want to understand, well, okay, what is this about? What are the rights? What are the regulations? What are the legal implications for cryptocurrency? Then we have one which we have introduction to contract law. What are the basic elements of a contract? How to prepare your own contract properly? What are the fundamentals in terms of making a legally binding contract? All right. Then we have one called human rights and wrongs. So we deal with all these things. Then there's another one we're going to be doing called online naming and shaming, dealing with cyberbullying, cyber defamation. If people are, slandering you or defaming you online, what can you do? What is your legal recourse and redress? That kind of thing. So we try to touch upon all the main areas that people would be interested in. All right, we have another one called The Child is Mine. All right, understanding child custody, maintenance, access, visitation rights, daily care and control of minor children of the family. So, because that is an area that is always very confusing to a lot of people in terms of, what are the limits, what are the rights, what are the, how can I enforce my rights, how can I protect the child while ensuring that the parents both are able to enjoy their access and custody.
Excellent. And after completing the course, would participants be given a certificate?
Yes, they are all certificate level courses. And I want to make it clear, these are very simple, straightforward courses. They are all 1 day courses. We're offering them on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m., right? And on a Saturday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. All right, so it's a 1 day course. We take you through 6 modules of each certificate level course, and you are therefore given a certificate at the end of it. All right, so you would sign up for whichever certificate course you want. All right, so the first one we're doing is that one under the program, which is Divorce for Mummies and Daddies Too. All right. Okay. So divorce for mummies and daddies too. And the first course in that program is the DIY, Divorce It Yourself, where we are showing you how to prepare and file your own divorce proceedings.
Right. And um, a lot of persons are not confident enough to do that. So, in addition to the paperwork itself, what are the other elements that you think are needed to give persons that courage to file on their own?
Right. Okay. So the thing is, what you need to do is to understand. We will also take you through, explain to you what would be the procedure. Say, for instance, when the matter is called, how you appear in court, how you answer the judge, how you speak, how you, the things that you would expect when the matter is called. So we give you the elements of that. And as I say, this is really for simple divorces, for straightforward divorces, which are usually determined on the day that they are called. Right, so on the first day that they're called, usually these matters are determined. So it's not a question of you having to repeatedly be in court, representing yourself, kind of thing. It's usually on the first day that they're called, once there's been service on the other party and once all the documents are in order. Usually the judge will grant the order of a decree nisi.
All right. A question that I have on the divorce petition. Can a person be granted a divorce without the other party signing it?
Yes. All right. So the thing is, I could clear that up one time. There's a common misconception, and I think it's been perpetrated by television and Hollywood, where you hear people saying, "Well, I'm not going to grant you a divorce." There's no need for anybody to grant you a divorce or to agree that you are going to be able to file or get your divorce. It's the judge who issues the order in terms of the decree nisi, and then the court would issue ultimately the decree absolute. All right, so you don't need anybody's permission. It's something that you have to decide on your own. And the decision for someone to take matrimonial proceedings to say, well, look, they're filing for divorce, it's usually the simplest and clearest decision, because it's usually when people have reached their limit, have reached that breaking point where they say, look, I cannot take anymore. I need to make a change in my life. So that's where we are just trying to help persons understand that, look, you may be in a situation where you cannot afford an attorney or whatever. So we want to show you that, look, hey, there's an option where you may be able to actually prepare your own documents and navigate this process on your own, and at least be able to make a new start in your life.
All right. And when we talk about the will and giving persons the ability to empower them to create their own will, are you going to be teaching different elements of the will? So give us a little bit of
Yes,
understanding
that's
of
right.
what
So
you can learn from that.
yes, so we'll go through that entire process. We'll show you how to properly list and dispose of your assets in terms of the provisions you want to make in your will. We'll teach you, about making sure that you have an executor properly named. We'll teach you about the execution at the end of the will, the witnessing of the will, the affidavits that are necessary. So we take you through every step along the way. And what we do, we also provide copies of cases, legislation, so therefore people are actually empowered. And that's the whole idea. We have always believed that law is something that can be used to empower people. So, one of the things we say is that knowledge is power, but knowledge of the law empowers. And that's what we want to do. We want to empower citizens in many different ways. Look, for instance, the recent decision that was given in relation to the recording of police officers. Citizens know now that, look, hey, they have a right to record police officers, and the court has ruled that, look, it is a right that you have. So no police officer could just tell you, well, no, don't record me. No, it is your right. You're not supposed to interfere with them carrying out their duty. But if it is you want to record what they're doing, you think of what occurred in the US with George Floyd, with that police officer kneeling on his neck. If that citizen didn't record it, that may not have come to light. So, we need to empower our citizens. Even in Tobago, there are many cases where people complain about, police brutality and abuse of police force and stuff like that. So we will have courses where we'll explain to people what their rights are, so therefore they know it, and we will give them copies of the relevant legislation. So even if the police come and, say, for instance, they want to search your house and they don't have a warrant, we'll show you the section of the legislation that you could read to them and say, hey, you can't do this. We'll give you copies of the relevant cases to be able to cite to them and tell them, look, check this case. You cannot just come into my house without a warrant. You need to do it properly. Look at this situation. There was a recent situation with, a police raid on the home of an assemblyman. And I will not comment on the details of it, but, I've heard persons raise questions about certain aspects of it.
Right. And when does the courses begin?
Right. So we start on 1st October. All right. So that's Tuesday, 1st October, we start. All right. And you would have the option of either choosing the Tuesday or the Thursday or the Saturday, whichever one suits you. And as I say, Thursdays, it's 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. And Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And our number is a simple, easy number. It's MAG for Law, 624-4529. MAG for Law. 624-4529. You call us and indicate what course you want. Well, as I say, the first one would be this one, DIY, divorce it yourself.
All right, and the fee is on the flyer. We see that it's
975 TT, yes. Yes.
975 TT, and persons who are outside of Trinidad and Tobago are also
They can
encouraged
pay in
to,
US if they wish. Yes.
because it's fully online, and we see that it's
Yes.
125 US
Even
dollars.
persons in Trinidad and Tobago who wish to pay in US, they can do so because the US figure that we've put is actually a reduced fee if you do the conversion. So, they get a little benefit if they want to do that. It's entirely up to them.
And are there any requirements to be a part of the program? Any prerequisites?
Right. So that's why I said it's not a university level course. So it's nothing of that sort. So therefore, there are no academic requirements. All we require basically is somebody who has basic common sense, understanding, and the desire for knowledge and learning. That's what we're aiming for. So we're not asking you to have a first degree, A levels, O levels, or CXC. At the end of the day, we want to be able to explain to the ordinary citizen and teach them certain fundamentals about aspects of law which touch and impact all areas of life.
Okay, and how can persons register? Are we just calling MAG for Law, or
Right. Yes. Once they call the number, we will be able to process the registration. Or some of the forms online, you are able to click and do the registration one time.
okay, and where online can the forms be found?
We have it on Facebook, we have it on Instagram, and it's soon going to be up on TikTok. All right, and I know lots of people are actually sharing it already. So we are trying to do the social media. Of course, we're also going to do traditional media advertising so that people will be aware of it.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break right here, and we're going to be back with lots more of this conversation. See you soon. It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new dawning as the passion starts. Good morning, and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. We have been chatting with attorney at law Martin George, and we spoke a bit in our conversation regarding his law college that you can participate in, and all of that information is here, so you can always go back and see if you are just joining us. But we're gonna chat a little bit about the removal of those two senior police officers in the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service here in Tobago, Mr. George. Yes, so we saw the removal of two senior police officers. Tell us about
Yes.
your views of that, on that.
Yeah, it seems to be that the commissioner is signaling that she wants to, give Tobago a wake up and a shake up. So by removing those two senior officers, I mean, clearly she's sending a signal to say that she wants to see some kind of change. And I mean, Tobago needs to understand the crisis that we are in. I mean, the point is, I want you all to think of this. I mean, all right, okay. Officially, we have it recorded as 22 murders so far for the year. But depending on the autopsy results in relation to the two children, who perished along with their mother, even if, and I mean, we of course say this with the greatest of deference and respect to the family, and we offer our sympathies, but the reality is, even if the mother may have committed suicide, what is the situation with the two children? The two children did not commit suicide. So, it may be that those two children were murdered. I mean, we don't want to think of it. We don't want to add that to the statistic to say, well, look, it might possibly be 24 murders in Tobago. We have to await the police, we have to await the forensic reports. But, it's something to think of. It's a point that a lot of people have missed. They've looked at that scenario and, okay, yes, it might be a scenario where, yes, maybe one adult might have taken a certain decision. But clearly, those two little children didn't take any decision on their own. So, how do you classify their deaths when the autopsy results are, concluded? So we have to think of that. So, if it is that you're talking 24 murders, then Tobago is in a very bad place. So, I mean, one understands the urgency with which the commissioner had to act. And we are hoping that by the change of these two senior officers at the top, that, we are going to see some difference, but it may be that she needs to go deeper because, sometimes they say, when a fish starts to rot, it rots at the head. But the point is, it may not just be the head alone. Other parts of the body may be affected or infected. So therefore, she may need to look deeper into the police force in Tobago and determine how many officers have been there 15, 20 years in the same station, in the same village, sitting on the same chair for years till, the chair shaped like their bottom, because they're sitting on the same place every day, maybe those officers need to be moved or rotated also, because the point is when they get too familiar, too much a part of the community, the objectivity is lost, and you are too intertwined, too interlinked, too interwoven with connections. So you may not be able to go and arrest this one because it's your sister's boyfriend, or is your cousin from your father's side, and so you want to give him a blight. That is not what policing is supposed to be. So therefore, it may be that the commission needs to look also going down the ranks as to how many officers have been there for too long in Tobago and rotate them out, bring in new officers, bring in new blood. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So maybe she needs to make those changes also, not just at the top, but also coming down through the ranks.
Right. And when we look at the transfers, we see that ACP Collis Hazel, he would be reassigned to some tactical units in Trinidad, to overseeing tactical units. Now, in a conversation that he had earlier this week, he indicated that he does not see it as a demotion, but more of a promotion as he aims to, become the commissioner of police in the future. How do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, I don't have any feelings or thoughts one way or the other. I mean, there's nothing wrong with someone having aspirations and ambitions at the end of the day. But I mean, we would want to see it matched by performance and delivery, so it can't just be hot air and old talk, in terms of, well, yes, you're beating your chest and saying, well, I want to be this and I want to be that. Let your actions and your results speak for you more than just your hollow words saying, well, this is what I want. Let us be at the point where the public is able to say, hey, listen, Emmanuel, good boy, he should become commissioner because look how he delivers. That I think is what should more be his focus, rather than him doing the self-promoting and blowing his own trumpet.
Do you think that this reassignment, further speaks to the conversation on the relationship between Trinidad and Tobago, where, Tobago is kind of seen as being, the little sister or little brother in the relationship, where now when an intervention is needed, someone has to come from Trinidad in order to give that assistance or help the Tobago service to buck up in, some type of way.
No, that's a shallow, superficial, and a specious and speculative argument, because at the end of the day, it's the TTPS, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. And the commissioner has authority over all police officers wherever they're stationed. The commissioner has the authority to post officers wherever she wants. So she could take somebody from Toko and post them in, Digo Martin. She could take somebody from, San Fernando and put them to serve in Laventil. Same way, she can take somebody from Tobago and put them to serve somewhere in Trinidad. And similarly, she can take someone from Trinidad and bring them to Tobago. So let's debunk that, idea about a Trinidad Tobago issue and, little brother and little sister. That's not what's at play here. The commissioner has the authority. It's a constitutional right she has, and she's correct in exercising that authority in the best way that she sees fit.
All right, excellent. And are you having high hopes, or are you optimistic about the impact that this shift might have on the crime reduction efforts of the TTPS in Tobago?
Well, we of the business chamber, we are cautiously optimistic because, I mean, at the end of the day, we always want to give our support to the police service and, any changes or, improvements they want to make. But we are aware that it can't just be a cosmetic change to say, well, okay, look, I've changed the head, and you think that, well, as a result, crime is going to magically disappear from the island of Tobago. It's going to take a lot of hard work and effort, and there must be some overall strategic plan for doing so. And that's where we would want to have that conversation with the commissioner and hear what is the overall plan. It's not just a question of saying, well, I removed the two fellas on top. That is not going to solve the situation. We need more than that. Of course, yes, bring in new blood, new ideas, new persons, right? Sure. But let's also understand what is the strategic plan to deal with it. There are too many illegal guns in Tobago. I mean, when you hear in scenarios of persons, being shot with high-powered assault rifles in Tobago, a high-powered assault rifle is not something you could easily conceal. You know, it's not manufactured in Tobago. Where are these things coming from? Where are they being hidden? Who has them? Who is supplying them? Who is buying them? Who is selling them? Who is sourcing them? How are they coming into Tobago? And as I've said repeatedly, by and large, it cannot be through the airport because the airport security systems are pretty tight, pretty well locked down. So the major source has to be the port. It has to be coming through the ferry. And I've spoken repeatedly about the absurdity of you scanning a walk-on passenger. So somebody with a briefcase or a knapsack, you're putting them through a scanner. But somebody could drive on with a van load of guns and you don't have a vehicle scanner. Make it make sense, please. Make it make sense.
Understood. And in comments earlier this week, we heard from the IDA, and they indicated that even if, as you would have also suggested, even if the top cops are removed and the necessary tools are not given to any person that comes in there to try to make a difference, it would only frustrate their efforts even further. So there is emphasis on ensuring that the adequate training is given to police officers, and all the resource needs are met. Are you in agreement with that statement as well?
Well, I mean, of course, yes, that's basic common sense. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to come up with that idea. But the reality is, if we look at all the budgets, say, for instance, for the past 10 years, the largest sector or almost largest sector of every national budget has gone to the Ministry of National Security. So it's not to say that the government isn't allocating funding. It's a question of how these resources are being managed. And part of the role of the Police Service Commission is to ensure that the top brass of the police service, the executive, that they manage and harness their resources properly, efficiently, and effectively so that they can deliver the service to the public. Look at the issue with derelict vehicles, damaged police vehicles that just parked up. They can't be driven, they can't be used, they're just rotting away in graveyards, you know. Look at how you have that scenario. And then when you as a citizen call and make a complaint and say, well, look, we need an officer to come out, the first thing they're telling you is we don't have any vehicle. I mean, come on. So this is where I always call upon the Police Service Commission to do their jobs. And unfortunately, we keep hearing nothing from them. They remain, locked away in their ivory towers. And, in terms of major issues such as this, they remain numb and dumb, saying nothing. They're producing nothing to show that, well, look, they have done, that, job of monitoring and managing to, do that assessment of these officers, I mean, because how else are we, the public, to know, well, okay, they have performed in this area, they are managing their resources properly. So it's not just a question of throwing money at the problem. And that's what we need to understand. So, I mean, of course, we have the budget coming up again. You'll probably hear again the largest portion of the budget is allocated to the Ministry of National Security. But what are you doing with it? Let's not forget the story in the Bible of the man who gave, the 10 talents. He gave, 10 talents to one of his servants. The servant took it and buried it, but he gave 1 talent to another servant, and that man used the talent, multiplied it, leveraged it, harnessed it, and produced 10 out of the one. So therefore, who is making better use of your resources? The person you gave 1, because they are able to do more with it. And that's the issue that we are facing here. We must always remember the Bible and, the lessons that we can learn from it.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break right here and we're going to be back with much more of this conversation. See you soon. It's a brand new morning. Rise up. Good morning and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. We continue our conversation with attorney at law Martin George. Good morning and welcome back, Mr. George.
Hi.
Right. So before we went on the break, we were speaking a bit about those 2 top cops in Tobago who have been reassigned to Trinidad. But what approach do you think the new persons that are being reassigned to Tobago should be taking?
Well, I mean, thing I think would be to familiarize themselves with the, rank and file of the police service in Tobago, because you can't come into Tobago and take an approach where you're basically foisting yourself on people and, basically thrusting orders down the line. That is not going to work. We know how Tobagonians are. We know that Tobagonians are very, they take pride in, knowing that, look, hey, all right, we are here. If you're coming in, then you need to work with us, not to be just, giving orders to us. So I think that's the first thing that they need to do. So they would need to, go visit all the stations, go meet the officers from the all the way down to the constables, talk with them, chat with them, get that rapport, and build up that type of, relationship where you have that understanding. That's the first thing. Then the next thing, they will have to meet with the stakeholders, the business leaders, the community leaders, the persons, from the churches, the religious leaders, so therefore you now begin to get an understanding of the nature and culture of the people of Tobago. Because if you don't have that understanding, trust me, your job is going to be very difficult and very frustrating. Okay, so they need to recognize that even though we are one nation, we are 2 islands where persons have basically developed in separate ways. In many ways we're similar. We have our love for our culture, our carnival, and this, that, the other. We love our roti, our pilau, our kalalu, our macaroni pie. But there are certain aspects of Tobago life that a Trinidadian coming into the situation would need to understand and appreciate, and also to be able to show that respect for the average Tobagonian, to say that, look, hey, I'm not just coming in to, give you orders or to shove things down your throat. I am coming to get a feel and an understanding of the people, the place, the culture, and then now start to work with the people to make it better. Because let me tell you, you can't do it without the support of the public. Yeah, the information is there among members of the public as to where the guns are, where the drugs are being sold, who is transporting this, who is shipping this, who is doing that, who is planning to do this. The information is out there, but you need to build up that trust with the public. And the only way you can do that is basically by humbling yourself. Sorry to say, it might sound a little bit, onerous for a senior police officer to hear this kind of message. But the reality is they need to come down to the level of the people, meet with the people, treat with the people, and get that buy-in from the people, so that you get the support of the people. That's the only way I can see a successful stint being, made by these officers coming from Trinidad.
But do you think that maybe utilizing senior officers from within the service in Tobago can help combat that orientation period that is needed for an officer that would come from Trinidad?
Well, of course, you have to involve them. You can't ignore them. They have to be involved also, because they're the ones who basically know the ropes. So therefore you definitely have to involve them, and you have to work along with them and get them on board and get the buy-in from them also. I mean, we have stalwarts in Tobago. You have Miss Alicia Piggott, and you have so many others. Sergeant Miller, Inspector Miller. You have persons who they know the place, they know the community, they know the people. So therefore, you must tap into that type of resource. Even, some of the retired officers, you can use their knowledge. Mr. William Nurse, I know he is someone who is always willing to offer his assistance. He's a passionate, person who loves Tobago and is willing to contribute. You have more, who retired also. So you need to also use their resources and get assistance from them, because these are persons who they love Tobago. They're committed to Tobago. So therefore, you make use of their institutional knowledge. So don't go and reinvent the wheel all over again.
Right. And when it comes to partnership and communication with the Tobago House of Assembly, we know that, national security is not necessarily under the remit of the THA, but there needs to be, adequate communication and relationship built there. Can you talk to us a bit about that?
All right. Okay. So what I would clarify is that national security is not under the ambit of the THA at all. In fact, under the sixth schedule of the THA Act, it is specifically carved out and hived off. So THA has no responsibility for national security. All right. But the THA does have responsibility for ensuring the safety and security of the buildings, the assets, the facilities, and which fall under its jurisdiction. So therefore, in that regard, definitely the THA would also be concerned about the safety and security of the residents and visitors in Tobago. So therefore, there must be that understanding in terms of a collaborative approach. There are ways that the THA can help the TTPS to fulfill its mandate, and there are ways that the TPS can work along with the THA to ensure that they give the best possible service in ensuring the safety and security of Tobago. And listen, I want to say this. I know we're running past my time because I have to leave just now, but I just want to say this. We in Tobago have to take a stand now. We have to ensure that Tobago does not reach the tipping point of crime and criminality where we basically accept as the norm that every month there will be a murder or two murders, or that, there's going to be a drug related shooting, or, police going to be killing bandits as occurred 2 days ago, at a guest house. We don't want this to be our reality. We don't want that type of mayhem and murder, and the idea of illegal guns, being a norm in Tobago, illegal drugs being a norm in Tobago. We have to take a stand and put a stop to it now. If we do not, it is going to reach a scenario where Tobago is going to end up with a higher per capita murder rate than Trinidad. And I want you all to understand, we're not talking the raw numbers, we're talking per capita. So if you say Tobago has a population of 60,000, you look at it, you say 22 murders for the year so far, you divide that by the 60,000, you divide the number of murders in Trinidad by the 1.24, million, and you look at the numbers. So we don't want Tobago to reach to that type of stage. Remember, we used to be able to say, well, when you're talking crime and criminality, you're talking Trinidad, it's not Tobago. Tobago is safe. And understand, most of our visitors still come from Trinidad. And one of the main things they come to Tobago for, safety, security, serenity. If we don't have that, we basically have
Correct.
nothing but seawater and sand.
Understood. Well, we want to thank you so much, Mr. George, for
And
coming on this morning, telling us all about what's happening at the law college that you would be managing. And persons can contact MAG for Law if they are interested
yes,
in any of those.
6244529, MAG for Law. We made it simple.
Right, if they are interested in any of those courses, and they can get more information by visiting the social media pages. And
Yes,
this would be facilitated by Costa, and it's in person at the Port of Spain campus, and it would be
of
online
course,
for persons
that's
who
correct.
are interested in being online. So again, we want to thank you for such an interesting discussion this morning. I want to thank our audience for continuing to like, share, and engage in the discussion, and for just sticking with us and doing all that they have been doing to make Tobago Updates the number one broadcaster here on the island of Tobago. Again, thank you, Atini,
Indeed.
Martin, George, and have a great day,
And
guys.
it's always a pleasure to be here. Thank you and have a great day.
No problem. Have a great day, everyone.
It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new dawning as the passion start around.